This is just one of the many gorgeous roads that spans for miles around the St. Paul region of Nice. It's dry, it's grippy, and apart from the odd mountain goat, you have the whole road to yourself. Some would say it's the perfect place to test a bike, full of switchbacks, smooth tarmac, bumpy tarmac, high-speed stuff, and low-speed too. It's a real proving ground. But this is a Triumph Tiger Sport 1050, a sports tourer, a king of distance, a bike that laughs at the sight of bad weather. And so it only seemed natural to bring it back for a quick test somewhere closer to home. So we're now back in the UK to test this bike on home soil, and the producers, in their wisdom, have brought me here to a canal boat yard. Why? So I guess I sort of understand why I'm at a canal now. The producers seem to think that the type of person who's going to ride and buy the Tiger Sport 1050 is like a fine wine, maybe aged slightly, has swapped out the Nike Airs for some slippers, the Class A's for Viagra. Now I've done a few hundred miles on this bike, and I'm going to go clock some more and show them why they are completely wrong. Something that you just have to kind of accept when a new motorbike comes out these days is that it's probably going to come out with a new annoying marketing slogan too. Probably something ridiculous like Feel the Adventure or Land of Joy, or the new Yamaha Tracer 700 came out the other day, and that was Turn Your Story. Absolutely meaningless, means nothing. This is one of Triumph's many new bikes this year, and it pretty much does what it says on the tank. Literally. So it's got the 1050cc engine from the Speed Triple, the upright riding position from the Tiger, except it's a bit sportier. Now in the last few years, Triumph have taken some of their really easily recognisable bikes and shaken up the design a bit. Speed Triple, Street Triple, they've taken those iconic circular headlights, given them the angular ones. Some people love them, some people hate them, and I think they might have done the same thing with the Tiger Sport 1050. Sure, this new model, I think it looks more sophisticated, it looks more grown up than the old one. So let's get the nerdy stuff out of the way. The bike uses the same 1050cc 3-cylinder engine as a Speed Triple, albeit slightly detuned to make 126 horsepower instead of roughly 140. But in all honesty, it feels more than fast enough. It's a bit heavier than the Speed Triple. It doesn't feel quite so eager off the line, but once you get the bike moving, you can really dig in and get stuck into what the engine has to offer, which is a nice induction howl, creamy power delivery, a really decent mid-range and top end. If you're feeling a bit old for the Speed Triple, your wrists are starting to ache, but you're not quite at the level of this guy over here yet, then this is a really good middle ground. It's a bike that's really going to pleasantly surprise you in terms of how much performance is on offer. Like most new bikes these days, this thing comes with traction control, comes with riding modes, and the systems work great, but the functionality is really annoying. For some reason, the Tiger Sport 1050, even though it's a new bike, has got one of the older dashes on it. So when you want to change the riding modes, you can't just do it on the switch gear. You have to lean forward and press a big kind of annoying button on the dash. And it just reminds me of when you're in the car trying to change settings on your sat nav, and you're sort of looking at the road, taking one hand off, pressing a button, and then looking back at the road again. And it's just really awkward. Luckily, it saves some face with the adjustable screen. It's not high tech. It's not electric, it's just an old school, push it out, slide it up, there you go, it works. Something that Triumph knows how to do really, really well is handling. We're talking about a bike manufacturer here that builds the Daytona 675, the Street Triple, the Speed Triple, some of the sweetest handling bikes on the market. And so it's not much of a surprise that this thing is a bit of a gem too. It's well damped, it's composed, it soaks up the bumps, and at the same time it's also firm enough for when you want to turn up the wick a bit. In fact, on the roads in France and the roads today, most of the time I found myself thinking, I probably wouldn't be much faster on a Speed Triple. unless you're willing to spend mega bucks on bikes like the KTM 1290 Super Duke GT, the Multistrada, then I think the sports tourer / adventure sports class can be pretty boring. Bikes like the Suzuki V-Strom 1000, 10 years ago, yeah, it was a great bike. Now it's a bit boring, it's a bit outdated. Things like the Kawasaki Versys 1000, it's been updated fairly recently. It's very quick, it's got good looks, but it's pretty characterless. In fact, the closest thing you're going to get for thrills, for excitement to the Tiger is probably Yamaha's MT-09 Tracer, which comes in around £2,000 cheaper. But the Tiger's got fully adjustable suspension and the ride is definitely noticeably better than the Yamaha's. One of the ways that manufacturers save money when they build these bikes is by skimping on parts that you don't necessarily look at straight away. Things like the tyres, they'll put naff rubber hoses on instead of braided lines, bad brake pads and so on. On the Tiger, you get decent brake pads, you've got proper braided lines, strong Nissin brakes, really great feel and progressive power to them. And then you get Pirelli Angel GT tyres, which, what can you say about them? They're one of the best sports touring tyres out there. You can pick up one of these Tiger Sport 1050s for just over £10,000 in either matte black or a glossy silver. And in essence, this thing is just a more practical speed triple with a more upright riding position, longer fuel range, more wind protection, more comfortable seat for both the pillion and the rider, and luggage offerings. So I think I've done a pretty good job today of proving that you don't need a bus pass to enjoy this bike.